So this is what I call the Disneyfication of the city of Lisbon. I can say one thing about tourism in Lisbon is that because it came very late, we could have done things better. But we're repeating exactly the same errors as they did them in Barcelona and Venice. And so it's a pity. That's the thing that annoys me in Portugal, is that we always have time enough to plan things ahead because they happen later here. But we never do. We just repeat the same mistakes. My name is Pedro Gadanho and I live in Lisbon. I like to combine the existing structure, the carpentry and so on, because that really gives the character of an apartment, and then apply very contemporary elements. Because normally what you see, which I think is totally boring, is seeing architects doing these flat boards and just destroying the spirit of whatever atmosphere these apartments had. Architectural theory, and this is cultural theory, and that's art theory, and that's artists, and that's exhibition catalogs. I prefer to read over breakfast, also because it's when your head is fresh and you can take more out of it.
What do you have for breakfast?
Orange juice and toasts. Always. So this is actually a water closet. When you see this image, you think it's a photograph of a pill, but no, it's a photograph of a water closet in the form of a pill done by an artist that decided to recover the pill form to its abstract form. My passion was on film and architecture. One of the first pieces I wrote was for a catalog from the Cinemateca on film and architecture.
How do you feel about design in Portugal at the moment?
I think it had its moments. I was part of a biennial experimental design in 2001 that was really exciting, and there was a moment of inspiration, but I must say at the moment I'm slightly bored with it. It's just this repetition, these white walls, this, modern abstract, and I don't think people like that. It doesn't have to be flat, and it's kind of grayish.
There's a lot of construction going on in your building today.
Yeah.
What's happening?
All over Lisbon. The building is from 1906. So it was like first time we do something about the building.
But there's construction going on everywhere in Lisbon.
Everywhere, of course.
Are you sad? Do you miss the old times?
No, not at all. I think Lisbon is much more cosmopolitan now, and I enjoy that. I mean, I prefer that to the kind of desert that it was when I first bought a place in downtown Baixa. And there was nobody in the streets ever. The street where I lived had 800 apartments, and there were like 80 people living in the whole street. And I think it's preferable that there is people around. They used to call Lisbon the Havana of Europe, because it was the last European capital that was totally in disarray and totally old and untreated, and now it's no longer. See, this is a beautiful space.
Do you think Lisbon is due another major earthquake?
Yeah, it will happen. It's just a matter of when.
Are the buildings now set up to deal with an earthquake, do you think?
They were, but then they started refurbishing the wrong way. And now they probably aren't, because they started destroying the wooden structure of the buildings that would make them flexible. So probably a lot of it will fall during the earthquake. This is how Lisbon looked all around like 10, 15 years ago. I think it's funny to now see the last remnants of what Lisbon used to look like. If there is nostalgia, it's almost for something like this. No? It's probably the most beautiful car park in the world. Here they had to include some of the archaeology that they found. There is both stairs from the 16th century, and there's a little garden, and it's amazing. I mean, only in Portugal I think this would happen. This plaza has a special beauty because it's like the typical Spanish plaza, which has always these four sides with arcades, but then it was the first one that was made facing the sea. So the fourth facade is the river. What I think is a loss, a true loss, was that in the 18th century At this moment, we would be looking at hundreds of boats traveling in and out and going back and forth. And now people don't use the river that much. And that's a pity. I do believe that tourism will have a sort of a major international crisis at some point, and suddenly there will be no tourists, which will create a major disruption. But in the end, it will, of course, be a good thing. I mean, we cannot continue to have millions of people traveling in airplanes from here to there with the kind of emissions that originates, and there will be a moment in which that will stop. And it will be a big crisis. But somebody said, Lisbon, Portugal is wonderful if there were no Portuguese. And I think there is a sort of bureaucracy and a sort of difficulty to life. But at the same time, it's beautiful. I completely fell in love with it again. I was like driving to the museum and it was like, oh, this is so beautiful. This is so fucking beautiful. It's amazing.
Take it easy.